Welcome to Ready, Set, Rise, the ultimate podcast made for martial artists by martial artists, with your hosts, Aaron Hensley and Cameron Smith.
Yo, what's up, everybody? You are in for a treat today with special guests Alex Mancillas and Haley Glass, or I like to say the sport karate power couple. You guys are in for a treat today, so let's dive right in. All right, guys. Hey, Haley, Alex, thanks for joining me again for this. I'm excited to have you guys on, and I just really want to kind of hop right into it. Obviously, people know who you guys are. You've had a lot of success as professional martial arts athletes, and now you guys are also in the stunt world as well, doing stunt performing, stunt acting, and obviously, like I told you guys right before we started, like I think of you guys as the ultimate martial arts power couple. So, people know who you guys are. You've made a huge name for yourselves. But let's just kind of go back to the beginning. Young Haley, young Alex, getting started into martial arts for the first time. Like, what age did you guys get started? What was the motivation for you to get started in the first place? And Alex, I'm a Southern boy, so that means I got to let Haley go first. Ladies always go.
Of course.
So kind of let her explain, and then you can give your story right after that. So, Haley, let's start with you. Kind of talk about how you got started in the martial arts in the first place.
Yeah, so it's been interesting because both of us got started very differently. But I was in an after-school program every single day when I was in kindergarten until probably about 7 or 8 p.m. My mom was a single mother at the time, so she worked until that late, and I was just kind of hanging out doing nothing. And one of my best friends in the after-school program that I was in, she took karate classes like twice a week. Like they came in like Tuesdays and Thursdays for 30 minutes maybe. And I hated that she had to leave me to go take the classes. I was like, this is not fair. Like we're best friends. We got to stick together. I remember kind of walking past because the room that we did our karate classes in had windows. So I kind of just watched and I was like, man, well, that looks really cool. Like, I kind of want to try it. So I remember asking my mom if I could just give it a shot because it was just twice a week. And she saw it as an opportunity just to keep me active and keep me moving. So I wasn't sitting down for so many hours. And so I tried it and I ended up really, really liking it. Built a great connection with my first instructor, made a great group of friends. My mom started really investing a little bit more into me and into the sport. I started competing when I was about 6 and I realized it was something that I really wanted to do and continue doing. And, I had tried other sports before and I was horrible. Literally, tried soccer, sat down in the middle of the field, started crying because nobody would pass me the ball. Tried gymnastics. They couldn't teach me how to cartwheel. I just didn't do well with that. And then tried a softball. And I think that was the worst one. I didn't stick with that. So I was like, we had tried all these things and she's like, I might as well just give it a shot. But then she saw I really, really enjoyed it. So we kind of switched schools a couple of times just to figure out what was best for me. So from there, I kind of switched primarily fighting school because I didn't really get that in my first dojo. And realized that forms was really my passion. And that's where I switched to Florida Sports Martial Arts, where I've been since I was 9. And I've been competing on the national circuit. This year started my 14th year.
Wow.
So I've been doing it for a while. But I mean, I love it just as much as I did when I first started and I was 5. So.
Man, that's incredible. I love that story. It's funny that you talk about, with the gymnastics thing, they couldn't even teach you a cartwheel. And now you look at the stuff you're doing now and it's like, what? Come on.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting. My godmother taught me how to cartwheel after a workout class one day at a gym. I used to go and sit while my mom and her best friend used to do workout classes.
Yeah.
And then she's like, Haley, come here. And it was 10 p.m. And she goes, try this. And I did it. And it worked. The gymnastics coaches couldn't teach me, but my godmother, I don't know, she had the special sauce. So
there we go. She had the special sauce. Man, I need that. I need to know how to just get somebody and just get them to do something the first time like that. I get frustrated sometimes. It's I want it more than they want it. I'm like, come on, you gotta get this. How can you not understand?
Yeah.
So, Alex, how about you, man? How did you get started? What was your story getting into this?
Yeah, no. So like Haley had mentioned before, a little bit different, maybe a lot of bit different in the way we started.
Yeah.
for me, my family, my mom, my uncles, my cousins, my aunts are all involved in martial arts.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so my mom was my instructor. I started martial arts when I was 3 years old with her. She had a school, or has a school currently.
Yeah.
It's called Team Elite Sport Karate, but back then it was called Ramirez Karate, from that's her last name. So I started when I was three, and then I really didn't listen well. So then I waited a couple more months until I was four. So three years old was when I really first stepped on the mats. 4 years old was when I think my full journey began, and I kind of already went into competing at 4 years old, like fighting. That was the first thing I started doing first. Um, and it's been a lifestyle for me, and what motivated me to continue. At first, I was like, I like the Ninja Turtles. I wanted to be able to flip like them and all that good stuff. But all in all, it came down to one of my mom's instructors. I was probably about 7 years old, and competing over these last couple of years in the world circuit. I've done weapons, forms, and fighting. More recently, down to just weapons and fighting. But an all-around martial artist, right? Competing
Yeah.
in everything, and that's how I was. Some people ask me, how did you do that? Why did you do that? Or how are you able to do both, or all
Yeah.
three? It's because of the way I was raised and taught. My mom always told me I'm doing all three. And initially, this might be hard to believe, kind of like how she couldn't learn a cartwheel, but now is doing all the tricks. For me, I didn't like forms at all. I
Oh wow.
hated it. I disliked it. It was almost like a punishment for me,
Oh wow.
right? So I would win the forms division, and I have to go to grand championship. And I was so mad I had to go to grands. I just wanted to fight. I was a fighter. I liked fighting, right? So one of these tournaments, I was about 8 years old. It was a state championship in Dallas, and I was crying because I just lost fighting, but I was crying more so because I had to go do grands. I was like, I just lost. I don't even want to go do grands. Like my mom was like, no, like you got to go do it. Like they're giving out a pretty cool award, but you earned it. Like go finish the job, right?
Yeah.
And we her instructors and coaches from a team she was on back then, and he was just sitting. He's a taller black man, so he was sitting down just like this, but he was pretty tall. So him sitting down, he was really taller than little
Yeah.
7, 8 year old Alex, and he was sitting watching me throw this tantrum. And as I was passing, he just grabbed me, and my mom knew this, and she knew it was going to happen, and she just kind of like set me up. Um, so I was complaining about that, and he kind of pulled me aside and asked me why I was crying, and I said I didn't want to do forms. That's why I was crying. And then he goes, "Are you 18? Do you pay the bills? Do you put a roof over your head?" And I said, I was just all scared. I said no to everything, kind of, And he said, "Then you listen to your mom. You're going to do all three until you're 18 and you pay the bills. Then you have a choice."
Oh.
From then on, there was no more complaining or crying about forms. But I said that to say I was able to use, or that helped me really push me to continue all three. And then knowing, like, as I got older, my family history of my aunts doing karate, my uncles doing kickboxing, being kickboxing world champs. I came from a family of fighters. So then I was like, okay, this is why I love to fight.
Yeah.
And I ended up falling in love with form. So it's mainly a family thing for me. I got thrown into it at about 3 years old, and the rest is pretty much history. I started competing at 4, and I've been competing in the NASCAR circuit. I started, I think, in 2010, maybe 2011 ish. So I would say about 14 years, maybe.
Years. Yeah.
So
So, what's funny about that is, you talk about the difference in perspective there, right? You're a kid and you love fighting, but you hate forms and weapons, but you
yeah,
have the opportunity to go up on stage, grand championship, and you're like, man, I don't even want to do it because it's not what I love to do. Instead of realizing, like, hey, I've got this opportunity in front of me of something that apparently I am good at, right? Why not go all in on it? But it's just funny to think about the difference in perspective there from a kid that's like, man, this is what I really want to do, but there's an opportunity here, but I care more about this. But now as an adult, we look at it and we're like, dude, you have the chance to go on stage. Like, think about how many people are competing right now that would love to be in the position that you're in right now, right? And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I think about this too with this past weekend, I was in Delaware for a friend of mine. He had his black belt commitment day, black belt signing day. So all of his students coming together, making the commitment. They're going to test for black belt that year, and big celebration, all of that. And one of the things I always talk about is, think about all the people that started the journey when you started that are no longer in it now. Like all the people that came in, came out, dropped out, quit. made excuses, had legitimate excuses even sometimes. But like, think about all the people that started the journey when you did, or along the journey as you've been a part of it that are no longer with it anymore. And like that's why you guys are sitting here. That's why you guys are going through this test, is because you didn't allow anything to stop you from getting to this point, and that's why you deserve to be here. So thinking about it with you guys, like 14, 15 years just in the sport martial arts world and competing, like that's a long time. Like very
Yeah.
rarely do you hear anymore of somebody sticking with something for 14, 15 years. And I know you guys have had your ups and downs, right? Like I know you probably had moments where you're like, man, why am I doing this anymore? Like I can go do
Yes.
something else. Or and then you have your like wins where you feel like you're on top of the world, right? Like you kind of get the ebbs and flows of both. But there is something to be said about the discipline and the commitment there to be able to stick to something for such a long time when most people, like, if in a
Yeah.
year they're not getting the results they want, like they quit and they're out, right?
Sure. I like so I used to have like this really tight knit group of we were just I don't know, we were like superstars at my karate school.
Yeah.
Um and we called it the clique. It was just me and all these other kids, like a bunch, like all of us had really promising like potential. Like we were all great and like had the opportunity to be, and almost all of them stopped. When they got around 15, maybe in high school, tried other things, and I have a couple of them come back to me like because we still talk, we still hang out, and like, man, I wish I never quit.
Yeah.
They're like, man, your superstar status, like I wish I could be doing what you're doing. And in my head, I'm like, you could have been here with me, but like they chose to quit, and a lot of them regret it. And like, man, should have stuck with it. Either that, or they're kind of like coming back to it. Like I've
Yeah.
had a couple of my friends are like, man, I miss it so much, and they're starting to come back to training and
Yeah.
trick again and all these things. So it's cool that they're coming back, but it's like, sticking with it really reaped a lot of benefit.
Where do you feel like the difference maker is, like with you two, right? Like, in those moments where kind of like the same example you just gave, like all your friends quit and they kind of got away from it, but you stayed with it. Like why do you guys feel like you stuck with it instead of, following a different path unlike, others? Like, is it because of the group that you had, the mentors you had? Is it because of the success you had? Like you almost felt like an obligation to keep going? Like what do you guys feel like it was for you?
I think for me, it was definitely always having a goal in mind, and also not overwhelming myself with unrealistic goals.
Mm,
Um, that kind of really kept me going for a long time, and I had this moment so my goal since I was 7, I think, and I went to my first US Open. I always wanted to be on Paul Mitchell, and I feel like for some people that might be a cliche,
yeah.
but it was true. Like that's literally everything I wanted to do. So like I had gotten to this point in my NASCAR career where I had won at every tournament. I won every overall there was to win,
Yeah.
which is it's just kind of how it happened. Like I was able to get to a point where I was good enough to win everything.
Yeah.
And so I remember like I was at this point right before COVID and like beginning AKA's 2020, and I had this like period of time come February that year, and me not knowing COVID was going to happen, and I was like, why am I still trying?
Hey, martial arts school owners, click the link below to download your free digital guide from Rise USA. You're going to get that sent straight to your email, and we're going to help you dominate in 2025.
Yeah, so Paul Mitchell was something I was working towards for a very long time, and I remembered I had like basically interviewed with one of the coaches at the time, like maybe a year prior, and nothing happened. And I'm not like I'm gonna bring this up, which is kind of funny because we're engaged now. But I remember when he got on the team, and I was like, if they're picking up and they only picked up him, like they're not gonna pick me up. Like it's not gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
I interviewed with them years ago, and so I was kind of told at the time, like, we're really keeping you in consideration. If there's gonna be a pickup coming up soon, it's probably gonna be you. And then my mom tells me he got picked up, and I was like, it's not happening. Like it would have happened.
Yeah.
And so I had that moment where I was like, you know what, like whatever, like I'll stop. I was kind of burnt out. I was like, I'm tired of trying. And then COVID happened. And
Mm,
so I took time. I didn't do anything karate related for a couple of months. And
yeah.
then I was dang. Then I saw my comments in my room and I was like, let's just go to the garage and do a little comments. Like let's
Yeah.
just have some fun
Let's
up
see if we
there.
still got it, right?
Yeah. And then I was like, all right. I was like, why don't I use this time to like super up my game? was like, might as well. I have nothing else I'm doing. I was watching my sister, she was a newborn, for 8 hours a day. And like, that was kind of like mentally taxing for me. Because that was like 16, 17, like taking care of a 3-month-old for 8 hours a day, which is, it was a lot. So I feel like I needed something to kind of burn it off. So I would just train in the garage for like 3 hours a day, and started to get noticeably better. And I was like, man, all right. So I started training. I started training more with Team Infinity at the time, because they started doing Zoom trainings. I kind of got together with a couple other friends on the circuit to do trainings with them, just kind of get some fresh perspective. I started to do a lot more of the fitness side of things, because we had some weights. I had a barbell. I got a bunch of stuff on Facebook Market just to kind of use in my garage. And I got a lot better during that time. And then I came back in 2021 Battle of Atlanta, and I was like, all right, so here's what I got to do. Like, I got to super excel once I hit the adult division to get published. It'll be like, you should have put me on, and you should still put me on.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. I went Battle of Atlanta and US Open. I took absolutely everything. And then right after US Open, I had our coaches come up to me and be like, okay, like, we get it. And they even told me after, they're like, this should have happened so long ago. I'm so sorry, but I'm glad now it's happening. And I got the call like a week later. And then I had another pivotal point where I was like, okay, I did the thing I've been working towards for 10 years. What now?
Yeah, what's next?
Where I was like, and had never really thought of what to go for after I had won all the awards. Now I'm on the best team. Now what do I look forward to? So I kind of had these trial and error, like trying to just really find my purpose again in our sport. And that's when I started to really dive into my students and like my seminars, and just teaching, and also trying to be as much of a positive light in our sport as possible. And I really fell in love with that side of things. So like, yes, when I go to compete, it's because I love competing, but it's also because there are so many other things that I'm working towards. Love seeing my students excel, love getting to watch my teammates thrive, love getting to see him, reach new heights, things that he's been working towards for a long time, just seeing him succeed. Like, all of those things are becoming my why. But I think always having a goal is what has kept me in the sport. The moment I kind of stopped, I was like, well, what's the point? Like, if I'm not working towards anything, then there's no point in me doing it. So I think that's been like my driving force for all these years.
Oh, that's incredible. I love that. And I like the fact that you had the goal in front of you, and in a way you basically kind of got overlooked at the time for that opportunity, and then you're like, you know what? I can either let that be a defining moment for me, or I can let this be the opportunity where I go all in and I'm going to prove why they should have chosen me in the first place, right? Like, I kind of like that idea, that mindset there, because one of the things I talk about with some of the kids that I talk to, and a couple of like even some of the younger athletes that are in the sport right now. I use this this summer during a workshop that I taught, but I talked about like, hey, be undeniable. Like, and like, it's to the point now they're like even using it in some of their little like hashtags and slogans now, which is cool. But like, hey, be undeniable. Like, show people why you deserve whatever it is you're chasing after, right? If your goal is to be on Paul Mitchell, like, show why you deserve that opportunity, right? It's not just asking for, like, prove to people why you deserve that. If you're going for a championship, if you want first place, if you want whatever, like, go all in on it and prove to people why you're the number one option for that. And I kind of like that there, because it's like, after you get on the team now, it's like, man, yeah, we should have had you on. Like, we should have done this years ago, right? Like, it's like, oh man, like how could we have denied you? Like, you're amazing, you're awesome, right? And that's kind of like the idea you go through life. Like, imagine if everything we did, we just went all in on, like, anything we wanted in life. We just went at it to the level of like, there's no way like anybody's ever going to deny me anything that I want in life, because I'm going to be so freaking good at what I do. It's going to be impossible for you to ignore me. Like, imagine having that kind of mindset. It's insane.
No, for sure. And if I can add on to what you were saying, about having a goal and what, makes us, I guess, separates us, how we separate ourselves from everybody else and have that driving force. I think besides having, whether it's a short-term goal or a long-term goal, it's in every situation we say it's in our relationship, right? And it's about having the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's, why are we doing this? Like she mentioned, her goal was to get on Team Paul Mitchell, right? It's like, well, why am I going to win this division? Why am I going to try and get on that team? There's a bigger picture for everything. And I think, in those moments where we've both had, like I've had moments too where I'm like, man, like more recently, it's super hard to do both the form side, the weapon side, and the fighting aspect. It's happened so many times where I am lining up for my second out of my third weapons division, and then they're checking me in to fight. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. And I finished my form, and like she's had to stand in for my score sometimes, and then going right to it. But I think the fact of just knowing that we have a bigger picture, that it's, yes, it's going to be difficult, but nobody said it was going to be easy.
Yeah.
And just trusting ourselves and trusting what we can do. Like
Uh,
out any event that we don't go to, I'm not there. I look at the fighting and I'm like, man, like I would win that division. And
yeah.
I don't think it's coming from an arrogant or overconfident standpoint. That's just a confident standpoint. I trust in my training, and it's also a motivating factor. So I think all in all, it's about having a bigger picture and why you're doing what you're doing. So
Yeah. And look, when you have that kind of confidence in yourself, like you said, like it's not coming from a cocky standpoint or an arrogant standpoint. It's like you know the work that you're putting in. Like, look, like we see the success you guys are having, but even though we might see a few of the training sessions and workouts that you guys post here and there, like on social media and online, we don't know all the work you're putting in. Like, I guarantee you guys are putting in way more work than what you show online. So,
yeah,
like, when we talk about being undeniable, like the first person you got to be undeniable to is yourself, right? Like, you know the amount of work you're putting in, you know how hard you know the hours you're putting in, you know how hard you're going when you practice. And so, like, when you have that kind of confidence, knowing that you've done everything you can and that's why you deserve that success, like, nobody can take that from you. And, average people will see that as cocky or arrogant or whatever, but it's like, no, like, I know what I'm putting in. Like, I know I'm working harder than anybody else. I know I'm putting in longer hours. I know I'm fighting hard every single day. I know that I'm not getting complacent. Like, yes, I'm at the top, but I guarantee you I'm still working harder than anybody that's coming after me. Like, having that kind of mindset, and that kind of hunger, that kind of grit, that kind of resilience, like, honestly, people need more of that. Like, there's so much of that that's lost now. And I think that's why you guys are at the level you're at. Go ahead.
And like one thing that's just something that I've talked to him about, and even my students, it's like because somebody like if my students will get scared or like nervous at tournaments, or like I have this one student who you know very well, Jaden,
Yep.
um, and Jaden is amazing. Like
Yeah.
Jaden works so hard, and like because I see it because I work him out, right? I'm the one who's
Yeah.
giving him like hard training days and stuff, and I see him pushing through, and I at times I'll offer him like, hey, we can do 3 reps or 3 rounds instead of 4, like just because this is a lot. He's like, no. He's like, we'll finish, and like he's always working his tail off, and I'm like, you have to believe in the work that you've put in.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything for you if you still have doubt.
Yep.
Like for us, I told him, I think told Alex leading into the weekend, I'm like, we've been through a lot these last couple of months. A lot has changed, and we've done our very best in everything we've done. And I'm like, believe in that and believe in what you're doing for that, because maybe it doesn't look like everybody else's training schedule, or maybe we're not where we absolutely wanted to be, but we've put our alls into everything we've done. And I'm like, you have to trust in that. And I think that's what led us both to some great success this week. And it's just trusting in everything that we've been putting into, and just the hard work we've done.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. I love that.
I
So,
think. Oh, good. My
oh, go
bad.
ahead. Go ahead. No.
Just add the last little piece to that of having our success is definitely being surrounded by some great mentors in our life. Besides, yes, I was thinking about my mom's, and she's been through a lot, and she's helped me become the man I am today. But going back to some of the coaches, some of the friends who surrounded herself with, whether it's in the martial arts world or in the stunt world, or just overall in life. So from our coaches, and like I said, surrounding yourself with great mentors is a big part of our success, because it's true. It does take a village. Like I said, I have my mom sometimes, but now, growing up, becoming a man, have my fiance next to me, and being able to lean on each other, and then being able to remind ourselves that we are surrounded by some great people, and it's not a bad thing to utilize that.
Yeah, no, I love that. So next thing I want to kind of touch on here is, we kind of talked about this briefly pre-interview, but one of the things I'm also really impressed with you guys on, it's kind of twofold here. Um, but the dedication that you both have to your own personal health and your fitness, and how that plays such a huge role in your life. But then also, kind of part two of that, the way that you two hold each other accountable as well. Like, I know there's conversations behind closed doors that nobody else sees where you guys are, because the funny thing is like, even though, obviously you guys are a couple, right? Like, at the same time, you're both high level athletes. So I'm sure there's got to be like a little bit of a competitive nature there sometimes, right? So, like, the way you guys, so the way you guys like push each other and, kind of keep each other hungry and motivated. And couple that with, the fact that you guys are so serious about, your health and your fitness and how that plays a huge role. And obviously you guys are as athletes, but just overall human beings as well. Like kind of speak to that a little bit. Let's kind of talk about what that dynamic looks like.
Yeah. So it's a love-hate thing with the whole like always being in competition because I'm not one to back down ever. But I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't have my moments where I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. to work out. And there's been times where he'll get up and he's like, all right, that's fine. I'll go without you. And I'm like, oh, like, oh, you know how to get me. And I was like, no, just wait. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go. And then like vice versa, like times where like, I'm like, babe, I'm going to go train. And he's like, you just want like, let's just go in the morning. Like if it's like, because I like to train late at night and he
Yeah.
is really bird.
Nah.
I feel like my most like killer training sessions are like 9 p.m. and later. That's what I feel like I don't know. Like that's just what I'm used to. For him, it's like he can wake up at 5 a.m. and go work out, and for me, I'm just like I just don't feel productive. Like I
That's
can't.
funny. That's how the dynamic is with me and Emma too. It's like I'm much more of like an early morning workout person. Like I love it. She can't stand it. But like
It's like
yeah,
yeah. For me, it's like because I think he sees it as like let me start my day, and for me,
yeah.
I've had a
Absolutely.
long day. Let me burn it all off, and that's kind of like my mindset towards it. But it's been good because we're always keeping each other accountable, and like there's been moments where he's checked me. He's like, "Hey, your our tournament's coming up, and like you kind of got to do more." And there's been times where I said the same thing. I'm like, "Babe, you got to pick it up. Like,
Yeah.
your bidders are trading. We gotta be that step ahead." But at the same time, too, one thing I've absolutely loved is the fact that we've both gotten to where we have separately, just with our upbringing. So we've been able to then kind of merge what has worked for us together to create like basically these like super killer routines. Like a lot of stuff that's worked for me, I've shared with him and vice versa. So it's
Yeah.
helped us both modify the way that we train and the way that we train outside of the sport, how we incorporate our fitness and our lifting and our resistance training into everything, and that's been a big help. And I know for me also, I got my degree in applied physiology and kinesiology, so I've learned a lot about how to train the body properly, especially for sports athletes, and
Yeah.
that really to switch. And so for me, I was like, I want to share everything with him, and he could probably speak to it, but he really applied some of the concepts that I had just shared with him prior to AKA, and he was saying he felt a big difference. So like I'm getting a lot of satisfaction from that because it's like I learned this in college and I was able to apply it and help him apply it to our training, and it's made a big difference. It's just because of like our passion for fitness and all
Yeah.
things lifting, running, biking, everything.
I love that. Alex, what about you, man? You're a beast. Like I'm gonna tell you, every time I go to Orange Theory, by the way, and I get on the rower, you're always in my head. I'm like, man, like how does he do it? Like yesterday, I'm not gonna lie, yesterday I had a good moment. I got like 450 on the wattage, like doing all out on.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt good. I'm like, but Alex will probably be over here like freaking 600 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I so like I said, working out has been a huge part of my life, and I did have I'd say almost like a personal like coach growing up, and his name's Justin Hunter, and he taught me a lot and showed me a lot of the coordination, like flexibility wise. Even now, I'm not like the most flexible person at all, right? But and I have another Justin here, Justin Ortiz, to keep me in check all the time, but um,
He'll make sure you get flexible.
no, yeah, no, but before I literally like as a young kid, I couldn't like even touch my toes, which is very bad. Like my
Oh wow.
hamstrings are very tight, and even today, I'm still pretty tight. But I try my best to be more intentional about it. But he showed me a lot of these routines, and every time I saw the progressed movement or the progressed or there's more challenging movement, like let's say a push up to a power push up, or we put on more weight on a bench or a squat, right? It was always a challenge that I enjoyed. I'm like, oh, this is fun. So as a coach at Orange Theory, before I came here to Atlanta, I would always say, don't worry, guys, tomorrow's workout's going to be fun. And everybody knew my version of fun is different from their version of fun. And even for her, sometimes it's a little bit different. But I look forward to the challenge because one, like you're pushing yourself in a way that like nobody's going to do it for you, right? Well, for example, the rower, like in a 200-meter row, trying to get those high watts and lowest time, right? Like it's something that you really just have to drive yourself, and you can apply. This might sound crazy, but even in martial arts, the times you have to push yourself for your black belt test, your degree test, your tournament trainings, you can apply that to your life,
Yep.
right? The moments you have hard times, like you can remember like the time I was really dying and working out and throwing up and passing out. I got through it. So I can get through whatever life is throwing at me. Right. So that's one way I like to think about it. And the way like we hold ourselves accountable is very interesting, very funny. I love it. And it's a love hate like she's mentioned before. Like I'm a sucker for sweets. And like for example, like I did do this. She did mention I called it like my 6 week bulletproof camp. I told her I'll be your guinea pig on
There we
lifting,
go.
training, all that good stuff, right? And be more intentional with my training. And I did. I stuck to it, and I felt the difference in my strength and my power, and my movement and the way I would think, the way I would train too. And so when I stepped in the ring this past week, and I won the open weight, which is really really nice. I think my first one, I think in the NASCAR out of 43 high level fighters was really really cool. But also, like I said, I'm a sucker for sweets. I mentioned that because I love like cookies, muffins, bread, all that stuff. And then we were at the grocery store, and I love the Chips Ahoy Chewy ones. And she was like, nope, until after Warrior Cup. So after Warrior Cup, you can have it. So you got to earn it. So we bought it, and I didn't touch them. And you best bet there was two boxes.
There's
And
already a box gone.
I feel so guilty.
The family
But
size, like
okay, we don't got to say it was a
all
family
gone,
size. We
dude.
can just say it's gone.
We don't need to tell people how big it actually was. Like,
Yeah, no, but as definitely professional athletes, Ross has always told me like you think of your body as a Ferrari, like what kind of gas are you gonna put in that? I'm not gonna put regular gas in a Ferrari, right? So I do have my moments where I do have, I indulge in my guilty pleasures of cookies and stuff like that. But we definitely hold each other accountable. Like now we have a tournament, like you got to run your stuff again, or you shouldn't be eating that, or not just water. Like, and I think that's an incredible thing. It's tough sometimes, but it's an incredible thing.
that's amazing, man. I love that. And I love the dynamic that you guys have with that. And I love that, as a couple, like you guys are pushing each other, like you know what each other wants, and you're not gonna allow each other, slack on that. Like you're gonna keep pushing forward, like kind of that all gas, no brakes mentality. Is like, hey, if this is what you want, I'm gonna be right alongside you, not behind you. I'm gonna be right alongside you. We're gonna push towards this together. And I think that's a huge dynamics, like whether you talk about it within a romantic relationship context or whether it's even a professional relationship or whatever, like even friendships, like having people that are willing to stick by your side to help you get to where you want to be, like that's somebody that you want in your life, right? So I love that you guys have that and you exemplify that to everyone. So thinking about that kind of like all gas, you guys are full steam, like pushing ahead, like what's next for you guys? Like obviously you're still competing, you're like as a professional martial artist, you just moved to Atlanta, like you're newly engaged, like all these big things happening right now. So like what's next on the radar for you guys? What are we pushing towards next? I heard a little plug there about a 6 week bulletproof challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Yeah.
was an intentional plug or not, but I think it sounded good.
No, yeah. So I have a couple of things that I'm trying to work on. So it's a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of hard to try to dedicate enough time to each of the
Yeah.
things I'm trying to do. I'm currently taking a couple of college courses to just set myself up to go to physical therapy school at some point in the future. So that's something I'm kind of working towards. Just
Like you're
as
taking college classes on top of all the stuff you already got going on.
yes,
Yep.
I was doing physics to work
Gosh.
literally all day yesterday. Like it was
And she
horrible.
did it.
I got it done, but I did not enjoy it one bit. But yeah, so I'm doing that just so if I want to set myself up in a positive way in the event that one day I'm like, I really actually want to do that. I don't know just yet if that's something I really want to pursue, but I do want to prepare myself to make that decision in the event that one day I wake up and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I think I would be so mad if I didn't take my prerequisites and I'd get there and I'd be like, dang, now I gotta wait another year. So I'm just kind of getting them done now, taking my, knocking them out. It's tough, but I'm working on that. And then, we mentioned, we just moved to Atlanta, so we're trying to pursue stunts and that world, that industry, see what it has to offer us. We've gotten a good taste with Cobra Kai and with Logan all those years ago. But that's another thing we're really working towards and trying to put our all into. And I always mess around saying that I want to become the best in the game. Like I feel like a wipeout right now, and in terms of like the stunt world, but I kind of want to be the best to ever do it, just like I did with martial arts. So that's the goal there. And then on top of it, one thing I'm really, really excited about, and I'm taking steps towards, is I'm going to soon be launching my own brand called Becoming Bulletproof, where I'm going to basically teach and create workout plans and strength and conditioning programs for performers of all kinds. So I feel one thing that is really, uh, we don't, as individual artists or competitors, not only just in martial arts, but if you think about martial arts dance, like divers, synchronized swimmers, even slackliners. I just say that because they were part of my show. Like all these kinds of individual athletes typically don't get the knowledge of how to properly train their bodies to best suit their performance. Stunt professionals as well. I've met so many people who have no idea how to train their bodies yet. They're so good at what they do. And I'm like, imagine if I taught you how to train your body. Imagine how much further you'd be. Imagine how much better you would be if we had your body properly trained. We prevented like all the injuries, like everything that you might be predisposed to. Where we work on preventing that, strengthening you in all the ways that your sport needs, rather than just training like a bodybuilder. Like imagine how much farther you'd be. So that's my goal, because with our team sports like football, baseball, hockey, they all have strength coaches. They have a whole team of strength staff, and they have their workouts that they do every day, and they have their different like cycles, and that's why they're such elite athletes. But then you look at the individual performer, the artist, those kind of niche disciplines, and we don't really have that. So my goal with Being Bulletproof is to really increase my knowledge and then start creating these programs for athletes to really take them to the next level with the knowledge that they may have not gotten from watching gym videos online and watching like, oh, work out with me as a bodybuilder, when that's not going to help us for our sport. And that's like what I was telling him. I was like, we have to be sport specific. And as soon as we started doing that for him, he noticed a lot of gains within our sport just from our outside workouts. So that's my goal with that.
I love that. I love that. Alex, what's next for you, man?
Shit. Well, coming out here to Atlanta has been it's been a big move, and it's been exciting. It's been interesting. Um, we're both also going to be, part time at Dojo right now until we, break out in the stunt industry, and we want to, like she said, we had a taste of Cobra Kai, and that was really fun. It's very hard to not geek out around all these awesome actors and stuff like that. But to be able to live that dream as a martial artist and be on that show, it was like, oh, we can do this. We can do this, and being surrounded by some great mentors and friends in our life that pushed us. It's something we want to do and want to try. We have that mentality of it's better to go and try and see what happens than to never try at all, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be out here pursuing that as well. And I told her, after Chicago, I definitely want to. I haven't actually been in an OTF since I moved here, so I want to slowly get involved in that, whether that's part time and whatnot, because I love fitness.
Yeah.
So to still be involved in that in one way or another, even if it's just to help out a few classes here and there. And that's been a big part of my life. Continue with our training. And just like her, I'm also in school. So I'll be graduating this spring, hopefully, if all goes well. So a couple of online courses. Yeah, just trying to be the best versions of ourselves. That's it.
Yeah. Man, it's great. It's crazy to think that with all the stuff you guys got going on, you're still pursuing school and still going after the degree and getting your education there. Like, man, like I can't even like comprehend, because I know how busy your schedule is with everything you guys got going on. So to still be able to make time for your education and be able to prioritize that on top of your health, on top of your fitness, on top of your relationship and your career, like all of that. Like when somebody says they don't have the time, like I just want to smack them in the face. I'm like, you make time for what's important to you.
Yeah.
And so to know that you guys are actually taking the time at such a young age still too to be able to like prioritize those things that are important to you like that, like kudos to you guys. Like that's freaking incredible.
Mm.
Speaking of people who say they don't have time, obviously you guys are going to be joining us at our event coming up in February in Scottsdale. And look, we got a freaking killer lineup. Like this, it's insane. So when I talk to school owners and instructors, they're like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can get my team out there. I'm like, do you not see the lineup of people that we're going to have here? Like you were like, as far as I know, you're not getting anything like this anywhere else. Like it's a unique, one of a kind, where we're blending the actual martial arts training with the business training and bringing in outside industry experts to be able to help. Like the kind of event that we're going to have is going to be phenomenal. Like it speaks for itself with this lineup. I don't have to do selling on or anything, but like I'm excited for what that's going to look like, and I'm excited that you guys get to be a part of that and get to be a part of making that change with us as well. So with that, let's kind of talk about this because I want to make sure I ask this question because you guys are going to be a part of the event with us. Like when you hear the word rise, like what does that mean to you? Whether that's rise as us as a company and a brand, whether that's just the word itself, but like when you hear the word rise, like what kind of hits you? What kind of hits your mind there?
You go first.
You want me to go first this time?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'll go first.
Right, letting you go first this time.
No, so when I hear the word rise, it definitely means like I think of the I don't want to say cliche, but with the saying like rise to the occasion. You know, you got to step up, and that can mean whatever it takes. You know, whatever
Yeah,
it takes to rise and step up to the event, to the occasion, to the task. You got to get it done. So as I mentioned, whatever it takes from, it can be the smallest little detail things to the big things that we got to get done. But I hear rise and I'm like, that kind of like motivates me, makes me want to go do something, makes me want to get up at 5 a.m. and go work out. Right. Um, no, but yeah, you hear that term, and I guess in that term alone, it's just to get up and get moving. And in another way, I relate it to one of my close friends, and Aaron Hensley, right, and all the
yeah,
work that he's put in, and just kind of think on him a little bit. It's like, man, like this guy's put in the work. You want to surround yourself with great people. You also got to make yourself a great person. You don't want to be the one slacking off or anything like that.
yeah.
So when I think of rise, I think of get moving. Think of Aaron Hensley.
There you go. I like it. I like it. Haley, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of think of it just a tiny bit differently. There's a Katy Perry song I think called "Rise" that I think about, but I think about the phrase like "rise above," right? So for me, there's been, and I think every great athlete or every successful person has had obstacles and many things that would have made the average person quit or stop or give up. And I always think we've all risen above those things, right? All the things that would want to tear us down or would want to stop us in our tracks. We rise above that, and so that's something I actually have. It's kind of like a similar concept. Actually, I have a tattoo of sharks on my back. It's like just a shark. It's kind of cool, so it looks nice. But my concept behind that is like you keep on moving forward, you keep on rising up, right? So with sharks, they can't. If they stop moving forward, they die. They
Mm,
can't swim backwards, so they're always swimming forward, and they're never stopping, no matter what happens, no matter what shark fights they get into, whatever.
yeah,
Like they don't stop moving forward. They don't stop going. And so for me, it's like I can't stop rising above whatever's thrown my way. I've been given a great gift from God to do what I do and to share it with the world and to just like all these amazing ideas and things that come to me that at first I feel like are unattainable. And then I start to realize that no, these things are at my fingertips. I just have to continue rising above everything that's kind of getting in my way. And at the end of the day, when I get to the top of that mountain, like it will have all been worth it. And so when I think of rise, it's like rising above everything that's trying to stop you. Because at the end of the day, once you get there, and the devil can't stop you from doing what God has for you, you're unstoppable. Like
yeah.
that's it. Like you've done it. So that's kind of where my mindset's at when I think of rise.
I love it. I love it, guys. Well, hey, thank you guys again for agreeing to do this. I know it's gonna provide a lot of value to people. Where can people follow you guys, your journey, what you guys are chasing after? Like, how can people follow you?
My primary social media is at HaleyGlass03. And on Facebook as well, you can find me at Haley Alyssa Glass. Those two platforms are where I kind of share everything I'm doing, all my exciting events, and
Yeah,
just like Rise. So follow me there, and you can kind of keep track of everything that's happening in my life.
I love it.
And just like on her end with Instagram and Facebook, my Instagram is at the Alex Mancillas. It's one the Alex Mancillas. So at the Alex Mancillas, and then my Facebook is just my name, Alex Mancillas. You can follow our journeys and our goals and what we're on to next.
I love it, guys. Well, hey, we're excited to see you both in February and all the people that are going to be there to be a part of that. We're excited for you guys and what your journey has in store for you. Undeniable success, obviously, coming your way. And I know you guys are going to do whatever it takes to get there. So thank you guys again.
No,
Thank you
thank
so
you, Ken.
much.